when it first started. But definitely check that out there. But Eflin, I got no problem with him as a fifth starter. Obviously, we want a Ranger Suarez. Obviously, we want a Framber Valdez. Obviously, we want that. Short of that, I got no problem with this. Actually getting Zach Eflin on your team. Getting Zach Eflin. Let's see. And I'm going to leave you up there this time. So I'll take it down. All right. So I got a problem with this. Eflin, I think the only issue he had is can he stay healthy? Because he was injured last year. This is a good pitcher when healthy. To have Zach Eflin as a fifth starter is okay with me. It's okay with me. You want more, but short of getting more, it's also important. You've now pretty much, you don't have anything in the minor leagues to bring up right now. You really don't. You traded away Michael Ferret. You traded away Jackson Bromster. You traded away DL Hall, Grayson. So, like, you're going to have to sign a vet for a fifth starter. So, I got no problem with this as well. It'd be cool if we still start a starter. I'm kind of thinking that it's not going to happen. Like, they just – because I think if they wanted to sign Crowley, I think he'd sign with the relationship he has with Mike Elias. All right. So I did want to make sure I had a few minutes because this week we've been talking about the Hall of Fame, and so we're deeper in the offseason. And it's interesting, like this point of the year with baseball, there is not as much going on as well. So we talk a little about the Hall of Fame. Next week we're going to talk about 20 greatest players of all time before we get into our top 10 list at each position and all that other stuff. But that said, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. So this is going to be like the segment like we have for the Ravens there as well. So what guys are going into the Hall of Fame, Orioles Hall of Fame, retired jerseys, all that stuff. It is a longer, I made sure I had at least 15 minutes because it is a longer list of Orioles Hall of Famers as well to go over. Now, this list, some of you, this is basically guys that have ever worn a uniform. I think we got everybody. And forgive me if we forget one. Forgive me because it's a longer history than the Ravens. But we got everybody who ever wore the uniform. So there's some of the obvious that we think of, but these guys are in the Hall of Fame that have worn the Oriole uniform at some point. Okay, so keep that in mind. Some of y'all might say, "Hey, that's it." Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Jim Palmer, Cal Ripken, Eddie Murray, the Moose, Mike Mussina, Roberto Alomar, Luis Aparicio, the Weave, Earl Weaver, Harold Baines, Vladimir Guerrero, Reggie Jackson, George Kell, Tim Raines, Rock Raines, Robin Roberts, Lee Smith, Jim Tomei, Hoyt Wilhelm. Also, too, I think I already got Weaver, Pat Gillick, and Lee McPhail. All right, so some of these early are obvious. Some of the greatest Orioles ever: Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Jim Palmer, Eddie Murray, Mike Mussina. Debate if Alomar is the greatest second baseman the Orioles ever had. Certainly, if you look at one of the all-time players, I think that's the same argument you kind of make with Shannon Sharp. Like, was he a great Raven? Only here for a few years, mostly a Broncos, whatever. I think that's an excellent argument to make there. Some of these things on the second page, some of you didn't know maybe that they were Orioles. Like Tomei, not that long with the Orioles. Vladdy Guerrero, not that long with the Orioles. Harold Baines from Maryland, long-term, the Orioles. Lee Smith, I think probably outside of Mariano Rivera, one of the greatest closers of all time. Pat Gillick, Lee McPhail, great success in the front office. Current active players who have a shot to get in. So I think Manny Machado, Craig Kimbrell, Gunnar Henderson, Pete Alonso. Gunnar, maybe it's a little early. Alonso, I think, is a bit of a long shot for the Hall, but I do think they have a shot. Manny, I think it's not a long shot. I think Manny definitely has a shot at getting in to the Hall of Fame. Kimbrell, I think, statistically may get in, but not a really career Oriole. Possible names retired that might get in. think Mike Markakis is on the ballot. So is Matt Wieters, long shot there. Adam Jones, love Adam. Maybe not going to the Hall. Buck Showalter, I think, could get in for sure. Bobby Grich might get in through Veterans Committee. Chris Davis, bit of a long shot. I was actually surprised that Davey Johnson wasn't in as a player or a manager. That surprised me. So shout out to the late Davey Johnson that he's not in. He actually didn't win as many games as a manager as I thought he did as well, even though his percentage was great. I can't think of any Davey Johnson teams where he was a manager in New York, in Baltimore, in Cincinnati, where he didn't win. So hopefully Davey can get in through the Veterans Committee, even now emeritus as well. Orioles actually have retired jerseys. Orioles have pretty high standards. One thing that people don't know, except for 42 Jackie Robinson, that's retired with all major league teams, that you had to have won a World Series to actually get a retired jersey. So what all these guys have in common? They've all won a World Series in Baltimore. A lot of them have won MVP or a major award or something like that as well. So number 4, Earl Weaver. Number 5, Brooks Robinson. Number 8, Cal Jr. Number 20, Frank Robinson. Number 20, Jim Palmer. 22, Jim Palmer. 33, Eddie Murray. And obviously 42, Jackie Robinson, retired on all teams anywhere as well. Interesting here, Cal Sr., for the longest time had a moratorium. Nobody wore 7 for like 20 plus years until Jackson Holiday went to the Ripken. Jackson and Matt Holiday went to the Ripken family and wanted to wear 7 because he wore 7 a lot of his amateur career, college career, and then wore number 7. Fascinating that moratoriums are just strange to me. Why teams have them for so long. Very unusual with that. Orioles Hall of Fame takes a minute, okay? Started in 1977. 2 previous owners of the Orioles started it. So let's go over the list. So I broke it down into decade. Who got into the Orioles Hall of Fame? So this is the Orioles Hall of Fame. So you go through Camden Yards, you go through the building, the warehouse. These guys are in the Orioles Hall of Fame right now. There aren't too many that shouldn't be in that I can think of. I don't think. As far as that, what I'm saying, like maybe should Orioles Hall of Fame. I think they got most of them. Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Dave McNally, Boog Powell. Dave McNally, I think, one of the greatest top 3 pitchers in Orioles history. You could put him anywhere behind Jim Palmer. Some might have him at 2, as low as 5. Definitely there. Boog Powell, I think, not for Eddie Murray. You can make the case that he's the greatest first baseman the Orioles ever had with some of the success they had. Okay, now we get to a lot of names here. 80 to 89, all these guys went in through those years. Gus Chiandro, Luis Aparicio, Mike Cuellar, Mike Belanger, Earl Weaver, Paul Blair. That center field argument. A lot of people think Paul Blair is the greatest center fielder of all time. Paul Richards, Milt Pappas, Jim Palmer, Ken Singleton, great DH. Great. I think of one of the guys I think about the DH position, Ken Singleton as well. The B, Al Bumry, one of Roberta's favorite players. Roberta's my mom. Always talked about how great a player Al Bumry was as well. One of the great center fielders. Steve Barber in there as well. The 90s. Who got in? Jim Gentile, Dick Hall, Stu Miller, Hank Bauer, Scott McGregor, Hal Brown, Gene Woodling, Don Buford, Mike Flanagan, George Brandberger, Chuck Thompson, Jerry Hoffberger, Billy Hunter, Cal Sr., Henry Dalton, Rick Dempsey, Davey Johnson, Bobby Grich, Lee McPhail, Lee May, Frank Cashin, Eddie Murray. On this list, Chuck Thompson, I think, is the voice of the Orioles for so many people. Certainly was for me growing up. Absolutely. Cal Sr., probably maybe Elrod Hendricks, maybe more revered than Cal Sr. as an assistant coach as well. Almost a shame that they made a manager in one sense is the fact that I think it kind of damaged the relationship in a lot of ways because he did get fired as manager. And Scott McGregor with the cool arm release as well. Scott was an ace of the Orioles during the last years of success. He was really the guy that really took over for Jim Palmer as far as success. 90s, 2000s. All right, Jack Dunn, Tippy Martinez, Eddie Watt, Mike Boddicker, Elrod Hendricks, Hank Peters, Rex Barney, Dennis Martinez, Horton Wilhelm, Bob Brown, Cal Ripken Jr., Brady Anderson, Ernie Tyler, Doug DeCinces, Chris Hoyles, Ralph Savon, Eddie Weiner, B.J. Surhoff, Bill O'Donnell, Wild Bill Hagee. If you know, you know. Like, if you lived in Baltimore, went to Memorial Stadium, you haven't seen Wild Bill Hagee drunk in the crowd, getting them fired up, well deserved. Kind of like Mo Gabba, like the version of that. Greg Olson, the Otter, I think greatest closer in Orioles history. Phil Itzo, Harold Baines, Julie Wagner as well. Tippy and Greg Olson, you can argue with me who's the greatest closer in Oriole history as well. Boddicker, I always thought they should have kept Mike Boddicker. They kind of, I think he kind of got, I think he was the one they kind of shouldn't have got rid of as well, along with Eddie Murray. And during that time, if they really keep it, but the team started to lose a bit. Des Martinez was another bad trade, like as far as that goes. So that was it. Brady Anderson is not as revered as I always thought he would be as Oriole. He kind of was the lieutenant to Cal. So interesting. Had a lot of women like him and all the other stuff. But Brady, I think, was a good, long-standing Oriole. So it's interesting with that. Doug DeCinces was also to mention. Great player that he was in the 70s as well. So outstanding stuff for him as well. But Wild Bill. Hey. There you go. Lenny Johnson, Johnny Oates, Ray Miller, Rashi Banzels, Mike Bordick, Rich Dower, Mike Bucina, William Yost, Roberto Alomar, Don Priest, Melvin Mora, John Lowenstein, Gary Renicky, Frank Ullman Sr., Brian Roberts, Fred Manfra. All right, so Johnny Oates was a manager of the Orioles. Shout out to him. So was Ray Miller. Ray Miller, again, kind of like Cal Sr., we more think of him as the great pitching coach more than the manager. I think that's definitely him as one of the greatest, if not the best pitching coach the Orioles ever had. Definitely as well. You won't find a nicer guy than Mike Bordick. Mike Bordick is a classy performer. I think he got a tough job having to replace Cal Ripken in the shortstop as well. So that was tough to do. The Moose, I think, always should have stayed here in Baltimore. Roberto Alomar, one of the greatest players. Melvin Mora, fantastic. Good during a tough time. I interviewed Derek Lewis for Maryland Terps. It was kind of like that was Melvin Mora. Like during the rough years, Melvin Mora was still there. Lowenstein and Renicky together, the left field platoon, maybe one of the best ever. Brian Roberts, certainly. Again, second base argument. You can put Brian Roberts there as well. And most current, Mo Gabba, Mike Devereaux, J.J. Hardy, Joe Angel, Terry Crowley, Nick Markakis, Dick Bowie, Tom Davis, Adam Jones, Joe Orsolak as well. Mo Gabba, I think, is the fan. The late Mo Gabba is probably for the Ravens and the Orioles a tremendous symbol of what an Oriole fan should be. So no problem with that. Nice to see Devo in there. Devo, I think, was an underrated Oriole as well. J.J. Hardy, solid offensive player, solid all-around player as well. Wave it goodbye, Joe Angel, one of the great announcers as well. Nick Markakis, maybe not quite Hall of Fame worthy. Tom Davis was the update guy on Home Team Sports forever. And Joe Slack, as my brother used to put it. And Adam Jones, I think, might be the greatest center fielder in Orioles history. There you go. Good to look at that. Thank you guys for joining us here for the Ravori Sports Podcast. We'll see you after the Ravens' victory over the Steelers. Have a good day.